So welcome to our Tehama and North State Farms Leadership Field Day, January, and we have California Olive Ranch with us today. They have put together a great day and have several employees that are participating, taking time to share with you guys about what the olive oil industry is and what it has to offer you guys potentially. So I'm going to start by let's go around. We have several new students. We got 2 new schools since our last field day. We have Las Plumas from Orville and Chico High from Chico. So we want to welcome them, and some of those students may not have met any of you yet. So let's just go around, I'll kind of call your name, just unmute yourself. I'd like to know your name, your school, as well as what is your favorite olive or olive product. So whether it be olive oil, whatever. So think about that. And Allison Manor, let's start with you.
My name's Allison Manor. I go to Orland High School, and I would probably have to say olive oil is my favorite because I don't really like olives too much.
Very good. All right, Aiden Moyer.
My name is Aiden Moyer. I'm from Rebel High School, and my favorite olive product has to be olive oil.
Great. Vanessa.
Hi, my name is Tanessa Whitmire. I'm from Las Plumas High School in Orville. I've never eaten an actual olive, so I guess I'm just gonna have to say olive oil.
What? Oh my goodness, girl. All right, and Roxanne.
Hi, my name's Roxanne. I'm from Los Molinos High School, and my favorite olive product probably has to be olive oil.
And Madeline.
Hi, my name is Madeline. I'm from Chico High School, and my favorite olive product is probably olive oil.
Perfect. Lots of olive oil likers. Lorena.
Hi, my name is Lorena. I'm from Los Molinos High School, and I would say my favorite olive product is probably olive oil. I don't really like olives, to be honest.
Diana.
Hi, my name is Diana, and I'm from Los Molinos High School. And my favorite thing of olive is oil.
It's the oil. Lots of olive oil likers. I like it. All right, Matt.
I'm Matt Mintz from Corning High School, and I'd say my favorite olive product is green olives.
Green olives. Way to be different. Good job. All right, Stevie.
Hi, my name is Stevie. I'm from Corning High School, and my favorite olive product is probably green olives also.
All right, and those of you in Orland, you guys want to go around your room?
Yeah. Hi, my name's Autumn, and my favorite olive oil is the virgin olive oil. Tristan? I'm going to say virgin olive oil too. Sam?
Who are you? Tristan, introduce yourself.
I'm Tristan Lewis from Orland High School.
Perfect.
Come on, Sam. Get over here.
Yeah, Sam. And I'm Sam from Orland High School.
Good job. Thanks for being here, girls. All right, and is it Taya or Taya?
It's Taya.
Taya, perfect. Thanks for.
My name is Taya Henry. I'm from Las Plumas High School, and my favorite olive product would be green olives.
Green olives. And Kinsey. Kinsey here? All right, we'll skip over Kinsey. How about Christina? Oh, no, Christina. Elaine.
Hi, my name is Elaine Barnes. I'm from Las Plumas High School, and my favorite olive would have to be the black olive.
Black olive. That's my kids' favorite because they can put them on their fingers. All right, that was Elaine. Now Harmony.
name is Harmony, and my favorite olive product is pickled pitted olives.
Pickled pitted olive. Okay. Awesome. And Hannah.
Hi, I'm Hannah Martins from Orland High School, and my favorite olive product is the green olives.
Green olives. Well, great. Well, I'm sure we're going to hear lots about different kinds of olives. And like a lot of you said, you loved the olive oil. So I'm sure you're going to learn about what actually goes into making that delicious olive oil for you all. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce Selena Layton, who is California Olive Ranch Assistant HR Manager. And she has really been wonderful to work with, and I'm going to turn it over to her and California Olive Ranch team and let them take it from here.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. We're excited to share what we do with you and the positions. So I'm going to play a video that just kind of, it's on our website. So hopefully my internet doesn't go out. Let's see here. Let me know if you have any issues.
And just quick reminder for everybody, and some of you I know are new, this is your first field day, is if you guys have questions that pop into your head, just go ahead and type them into the chat box, and we will be coming back to those questions kind of at the tail end. We'll do a question and answer time, but just so you don't forget, ask questions. Remember, that's really important thing, shows your engagement. And also, you know, all questions, typically if you're wondering it, so is somebody else.
Thank you.
There's nothing more beautiful in the state of California than a sunrise, particularly out here amongst our orchards. You see these gorgeous olive trees full with fruit, and the sun just comes up over the hill. Harvest is a very special time of year for us. We're working 24 hours a day. Different people on and off in shifts trying to get all this fruit. We're spending all year long nurturing, growing, getting it into trucks, so that we can get it into our mill and make the best oil possible. California Olive Ranch was founded in 1998 by a couple of Spanish families who had a new type of way of producing olive oil. Grow olive trees much closer together and then harvest them at just the right maturity to get the best olive oil. We're the first to really introduce this type of harvesting and growing olives in the United States. We have the largest acreage of olive oil producing trees in California. We have one of the largest, most sophisticated mills in the United States, if not the world.
When I'm walking through California Olive Ranch orchard, I'm really looking for green fruit that is firm, that if I bite into it, it will have a crisp crunch. If I squeeze the olive, there's a lot of oil in it. When I travel internationally looking for oil, we are looking for like-minded, vertically integrated companies. We are sourcing from Chile, Argentina, Portugal, and Peru. What they're doing in the field is very similar to what we do here. You can't make good olive oil with bad fruit, and so it's important to have full control over the entire process.
There's no better fertilizer than a farmer's footsteps through the orchard. You could have the best nutritional plan, the best agronomy plan known to man, but at the end of the day, if the guy that's managing the orchard isn't taking the time to go out and look at the trees and make the right decisions at the right time, it makes a world of a difference.
The magic of why our oil stands out versus other oils is the magic of how we blend it. It really is an art. It's not just a science. We're constantly playing the different types and tastes of the oil to really make very consistent, high quality product every single day.
You spend more time here than you do with your own family during harvest, and so they really do become your extended family. Having Bob and Logan by my side, we love each other, we bicker like siblings, but we also have meaningful conversations about product, and we really all put the quality first.
As they're starting to prepare something, both professional chefs and home chefs, talk a lot about what fat to cook it in. And olive oil is more often than not the fat that people use. The Mediterranean diet has been proven to be one of the most heart healthy diets, and olive oil is essential to that type of diet. It's just a great way for you to amplify your cooking. I absolutely love seeing our bottle on people's counters, that iconic green bottle. It's just so rewarding to sort of trace all that back to all this magical work that happens on our ranch.
Okay.
There's nothing more beautiful in the state of
sorry.
California than a sunrise.
Turn that off. So we're lucky to have Logan and Mary. Both are from that video, but Logan's our director of the operations, and he's going to go over, give a short tour of the facility, and also the positions that kind of support the process, to show you, the type of positions that we need to hire. And then Mary Morey, she's our director of technical services, and so she'll be doing the tastings as well. So Logan.
Awesome. So we're going to try something new today. I'm actually going to be cruising around. Hopefully the Wi-Fi will be strong enough to be able to do this. So I'm Logan Jennings, Director of Operations here at California Olive Ranch. I've been with the company almost 11 years next month, which is crazy to think about because that's literally a third of my life almost. It's been a crazy ride. Little background on myself. Grew up, born and raised in Corning, still live in Corning. So all you Corning High kids, no surprise that you guys are the ones that like the green olives. Went to state after graduating high school. Had no desire for the ag, never crossed my mind. I got a degree in marketing, and then ended up taking an internship with California Olive Ranch, processing and packaging ever since. So I would definitely say it's an eye-opener for myself, just as I've been able to spend some time in ag, working with not only our company but all the associated businesses that support agriculture. That it's a huge industry, especially in our state. And don't, even if you aren't super interested in ag, or if you are interested in ag and you're curious about what else is out there, there's more that goes into ag business than just farming, just ranching. And if you're not super into ag, don't forget that there are a bunch of positions that are required to support all of the different aspects of it. So I'm going to cruise through our facility today. I'm going to flip my camera. I'm going to show you guys as much as I can. It's going to be maybe a little tricky to see. We'll take questions at the end. And then I'll talk a little bit about kind of the variety of positions, that are really focused on the operations side. So on ops, my side of the business basically is from the time fruit shows up to the processing facility, which we'll refer to as the mill. That's where we're going to actually make olive oil out of the olives, all the way through tank farm, which is a bunch of storage, blending, and then we'll do a quick view of our packaging lines, which are pretty cool to watch if you're into that. So I'm going to flip my camera, and you guys won't have to stare at me anymore. All right, so this is the view that you get when you work in ag, which is not the worst view in the world. You can take a look at valley floor, get some trees in. So this is right at the back of the mill. So this is where we unload fruit. It comes into the facility. If any of you guys are familiar with almond processing or walnuts, very, very similar equipment that we designed. It's the only one in the world currently. But we modified the front end of the walnut plant. So this does all the removal of sticks and leaves, branches, things that we don't want in the fruit when we get ready to actually get the oil out of it. So from there, we come into our receiving area. Truck load gets unloaded.
Hey, Logan, it's starting to freeze.
So it's really important. All right, is that any better?
Yeah, that's
Better now, yeah.
Okay. So that room, we basically prepare the fruit to get crushed. So we use hammer mills, which crush the fruit. It's pits, the fruit, basically anything that we have not taken out up to that point is going to get crushed up. It goes through a little screen that's about 5 millimeters. When it comes out of there, it looks like guacamole or oatmeal. From there, it goes into one of these big machines called malaxers. So what these guys do is they actually physically beat on the fruit with these ribbons, like a KitchenAid mixer would. And then there is a jacket right here that we circulate hot water through to bring it up to the temperature of about 80 degrees Fahrenheit to make sure that the oil is in a liquid state. So olive oil, because of its fat composition, it will actually start to solidify, depending on the varietal and the season, around 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's really important that we have temperature control. From there, it goes into one of these big machines called the decanter. So this is essentially the press. So we use centrifugal force by spinning that material after it's crushed to separate the solids and liquids. And what ends up happening is solids get flung out this end right here. At this point, it's called pumice. And then oil comes out this end and goes into this little guy, which filters any additional solids out. Then it gets pumped over into these two separators. We call them just separators, but this is very similar technology you might see in a brewery, a winery. So this big guy over here, for those of you who are the mechanically inclined or interested, these guys spin about 3,000 RPMs, and they create, depending on the model, anywhere from about 2,500 to 3,200 G's worth of force. So this is a tremendous amount of energy. When harvest is happening, I mean, you can't hear in here. It's extremely noisy. There's a lot going on. It's pretty cool to see. Now, the separator, what this guy is doing is it's clarifying the oil. So it's going to separate some of the moisture, and olive is about 55% moisture when we receive it. And that's just the water that the plant's uptaken into the fruit. And so we're basically trying to get the oil as pure as possible at this point, and there's going to be some solids. These guys spin about 7,000 RPMs. From there, it gets pumped over into our first tank room. So here's a quick look. So these are our baby tanks. We call them our mill tanks. Each mill line, we have 8, has 2 tanks with the exception of the last 2 lines. And this really allows us to segregate oil for good reasons or for bad reasons. You can't control Mother Nature, so it doesn't always go perfect out on the farm. But as you guys can see, there's a lot of piping, there's a lot of cabling. So this process is super automated. And this is probably one of my favorite parts. We have a controls guy. He's a controls and automation engineer, but he basically a programmer. So he has the ability to work with our operations team to use PLCs to make equipment do what we want, and he does that from Idaho. So he works for us. He lives in Nampa over by Boise. He does come out for harvest, but that's a great example of one of the positions that you don't really think about. But all this stuff, as the world becomes smarter and safer and more efficient, technology is very, very, very important. And having the ability to be self-sufficient is really, really key. Whether that's from a data perspective, controls perspective, but that work can be done for the most part almost anywhere. So all of our facilities are really controlled by these screens. So we build these with our controls guy. And like I said, it's a combination of our operations team. working with him to make sure that we get the equipment to behave and perform the way that we like. And so in a mill, for context, this is the largest mill in the Western Hemisphere. We have 8 processing lines. We can process a maximum of about 70 tons of fruit every hour. So in a day, we're going to produce anywhere from 55 to 65,000 gallons of olive oil, which is incredible. So now we're going to cruise over the tank farm. It might get a little spotty as I go from one building to the other. After the oil's been in those tanks, it's going to sit in there for about 16 hours, and then we're going to pump it overhead through these pipes way up here, all the way across outside through the building, and it's going to go into one of our big storage tanks. And when it gets there, we're going to push, we take liquid nitrogen, we convert it to gas, and then that's what we actually pressurize the line with to move all of that product into one of our bulk storage tanks. So now, guys, 92 tall. So when we get inside, these tanks are pretty impressive. It's really, really cool to see in person. You guys can hear me. I probably dropped off going across.
We can now.
Okay, so just walked in the tank farm. One nice part about the tank farm is it's 65 degrees in here every day of the year. So not a bad spot to work. So we're standing inside the tank farm. I've got to get my hairnet and safety glasses and mask on. So give me one quick second here to do that. All right, so I'm standing at ground level. These are our bulk storage tanks. So this is how big these tanks are. So these tanks in our tank farm, we can hold about 2.7 million gallons of olive oil just in our toys alone. Each of these big tanks are 175,000 gallons. And for context, your normal half-liter bottle of olive oil you're going to see on the store shelf, it's about 1.3 million bottles for each one of these tanks. So we will package either into a bottle or a bag in a box. We're going to package somewhere around 1.25 of these tanks every single month. So this is walking through the tank farm. Over here, it's really a lot about just pumping, blending, and filtering. So I'll show you guys the filter that we have. Our tank farm operates with about 2 people per shift. And those guys are, they're setting up pumps, making sure piping configurations are correct. Because those mistakes, sending oil to the wrong spot, is pretty expensive. So these guys have been really well trained, not only to make sure our processors are controlled, how the piping works, operating pumps, proper documentation, but also most of them taste a lot of the oil. So this is our filter, and this just makes the oil nice and clear, so it's really, really presentable in a bottle. At the same time, it takes some of the solids out that's still left from the process of making olive oil to really improve and stabilize the quality. Shelf life is a huge deal in food, and that really makes sure that, Mary's going to talk a lot more about quality, but that's really the backbone of our organization, all the way from the farm through logistics. Your customers really drive your business, so making sure that you have a quality product is critical. So now we are in our packaging area. This is kind of hard to see because I'm a short little guy. But we've got 3 packaging lines out here. Our big line's running today, so we'll do a quick little lap around that so you guys can see how it works. If you guys are familiar with our product, we've got our infamous green bottle over here. So right now, we manually depalletize the glass. It gets on a conveyor, and it's going to travel on down to our filler. I'm going to try and hustle here, save some time. So this is our filler. It's going to get a little noisy. So the first step is a rinser. So this machine grabs a bottle, flips it upside down, it rinses it with compressed air to get any dust out from transit. And then we purge the entire bottle with nitrogen gas. And what that does is it helps protect the olive oil while it's in the bottle from oxygen. Oxygen, like for most foods, right, it's going to cause it to spoil quicker because some of the material in there oxidizes. From there, it comes over to our filler. The filler on this machine actually pulls a slight vacuum, and the oil falls down into the bottle, and then it fills to the same height every single time. From there, it comes over to a capper. Let's see if this thing's going to turn back on for a second. It does it automatically. So on our capper, it picks up an aluminum cap. If you guys are familiar with them, they don't actually have threads. So these big shiny metal guys right here spinning, they grab the aluminum and then they bend the metal of that cap around the bottle to make the threads that you see. It's a pretty detail-oriented process. Takes quite a bit of training to get really, really good at. From there, we got our QC tech over here doing some quality testing, make sure our packaging's all in spec. And then down here, we've got our labeler. So this guy, we're doing 3 labels on this bottle. We use a vision system right here. And so this is taking a picture of every single bottle at about 125 bottles a minute. And it's making sure that the bottle's in the right position to get labels applied to it. So here's our labels. As you can kind of see, it's probably hard to follow along, so I apologize. A lot cooler in person. And then this is one of my favorite machines. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it, but you'll see a little flash on the back of the bottle. We actually use a laser, and what that laser does, this is the label before the laser hits it. And now you can see on the back of the bottle, let's see if it'll focus, our lot code, our harvest year, and our best buy. So if you remember back to the very beginning when I talked about one truckload having a unique lot code, all of that fruit that goes into this bottle, we can tie back from the lot code on this bottle to every load of fruit that we process to make this batch of oil. From there, it goes down, gets case packed, case printed, put on a pallet, and then it goes out to a warehouse. So as you guys can see, there's a lot that goes into just getting a bottle of olive oil from an olive out. Positions in operations that we're typically, looking at. You've got equipment operators to run all this equipment. Packaging equipment's fairly automated, but the skill set that it takes to troubleshoot, set up. For example, a setup on this line takes about 2 hours. So it's basically like tuning a car. Making sure everything's set exactly the way that it needs to be. Maintenance, we have a pretty large maintenance group here. They're managing millions of dollars in equipment to make sure that it's performing the way that it needs to, and it's doing it safely and efficiently. I talked about our controls engineering group, or guy, I should say, who works remotely. We've got quality control techs that are, they're doing sampling of the product to make sure that it's in spec. We've got forklift operators, we've got warehouse managers. Logistics is a big part of it. There's a lot that goes into getting product to your customers on time, the right amount. And then over in the mill, again, we've got operators, millers. I used to think, I'm a big fan of technology, I used to think that you could program an entire mill to basically run by itself, but at this point in my career, I'm convinced there will always be some level of art to producing a product like this that only comes with time and experience. On top of that, one of the things that people forget about is all of this had to be built. Had to be built by somebody, managed by somebody, designed by somebody. So when you think about the project management, if you're somebody who likes to create and build infrastructure, I've been fortunate enough to be a part of a lot of projects, whether it's building buildings, building tanks. We're actually getting ready Right now we're expanding. I'm in the middle of building like a 40,000 square foot building, which is bigger than the one that we're in right now. And we're also going to be adding more of these really, really big tanks that you guys can see behind me. So there's a lot of jobs that go into it, not even getting into the administrative stuff with HR, accounting, finance. But that's basically how olive oil is made, gets into a bottle, and is shipped out to one of our customers. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Mary, and she has way cooler stuff for you guys to play with.
Can I ask a couple questions real quick, Logan?
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the students asked, Tanessa, she asked, is it dangerous to work in an olive mill?
No, if you're following the safety rules, the maintenance side does require a lot of training. We have a lot of really big electrical stuff. So electrical safety, mechanical safety is very, very important. In general, though, it's very, very safe. We rarely have injuries out here, and typically it's somebody doing something they're not supposed to be doing. But all the equipment, they have design specifications for safety that are required, not only in California, but there's European standards. Every kind of governing agency has their standard. But no, it's not dangerous. We actually, so that big mill running all that fruit, we can run that mill as far as the processing side. We have 3 people that drive trucks every shift to unload the fruit. We've got a receiving operator, supervisor, making sure we're unloading the fruit where we want to. We separate it by varietal depending on what we're trying to do. And then you've got a couple people inside the mill making oil, and then Mary and her team doing all the quality analysis. So it's pretty automated. It's not super labor intensive, but it's really paying attention to what's coming in, what's going out, and fine tuning equipment. But in general, it's a super, super, super safe operation, assuming you follow the rules and you do what you're supposed to do.
Okay. And then 2 more questions from Dana. Okay. What do you do with your waste product during processing?
Fun. We'll see if you can. So olives are kind of silly for oil because an olive contains about 20% fat, which is oil. When we get it, the other 80% is basically waste. So we spent a lot of time working on trying to figure out how to increase the value of olives, not only for ourselves, but our grower partners as well. So it actually goes to cattle feed. So one of the projects that we did last year, I don't know if you guys will be able to see.
It froze up. Oh, there we go.
I don't know if you could see it, but we built.
It's freezing, Logan.
All of that material gets solar dried, and from there it goes to cattle feed. So we're constantly looking at ways to innovate and increase the value of that product. But right now, the best outlet for it is cattle feed. It's a really high nutrient beneficial feed product.
And then last question, and Mary's probably going to go over this, but why do you use a green bottle?
So there's 3 things that olive oil doesn't like. It's oxygen, it's heat, and it's light. All of those things can actually degrade olive oil, and Mary will get into way more detail, but a lot of people, a lot of our processes are similar to wine, but olive oil never gets better. So as soon as you pull that piece of fruit off the tree, just like any other piece of fruit, the faster you get it processed, the better off that you are. But the bottle being dark helps protect from that UV absorption. So it's a light blocker. The other thing that we do is, I mentioned we put the nitrogen layer on top of the bottle, and that's to prevent oxidation. Then it goes in a box, and depending on the time of the year, we might have to ship in insulated trucks or temperature controlled trucks to preserve the quality of the product as well. And so Mary will probably go into way more detail on where olive oil should be stored at home, because you guys can all control that. And it's pretty surprising to a lot of people when they think about where they have their oil and where it should probably be stored.
Thanks, Logan.
No problem.
All right, I'm gonna pass it on to Mary Morey. She's our Director of Technical Services, and she's gonna go over the tastings with you guys as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Selena. So to start off for you guys, give a little background on myself. So I grew up in the Central Valley. I'm what I call a transplant up to the North State. Grew up in a small town outside of Modesto. So kind of a little different than up here, more in the Bay Area. I went to Davis and I studied food science. I actually originally, I was dead set on being a veterinarian, thought it was going to be the best job ever. Love animals. Got to school and realized I did not like blood and I did not want to deal with that. I love animals, not having to deal with all the pain that you see them as a vet. I took a intro to beer class in my sophomore year. It just sounded kind of fun. I didn't know it was a thing. That's where I got introduced that food science is actually a degree where you learn about all the different sciences of food and how it relates to you in eating it. So it was always hard to describe to people is what does that mean? Are you going to be a chef or are you a dietitian? And it's actually neither. It's a little bit of both, where you learn a lot about nutrition because a lot of food science has to do with how does it interact with the human body and how does eating these different foods help support your nutrition. And you also learn about like how does it actually work with cooking with as well. But it's more deep dive into the true science and chemistry about food than just learning how to do the different cooking with it. From there, I've worked for different food manufacturers in the Bay Area, in Napa, and then got introduced to California Olive Ranch with my boss, who I used to work with at another company. So that's how I got started here a little over 10 years ago and really deep dived into olive oil. What's really fun about it is, olive oil is so versatile and so simple of a mainstay ingredient in your kitchen. And there's so much to do with fat and your diet. And a lot of people with the misnomers of fat is bad for you. So helping educate people that fat is actually not bad for you and it's actually healthy for you. And it always comes down to moderation in how you eat and use your foods and how learning what different things can do. Like fat is actually a flavor carrier. So you can, when you're on a low calorie diet and you want to conserve energy, is actually using a little fat goes a long way because it'll help accentuate the flavor in your dish, but allow you to not eat a bunch of sugar and different things that aren't so good for you. And so that's kind of what got me here. And so what I wanted to do is go over with you guys, if you have your tasting kit with you, is to do a little tasting. If you don't, we'll walk through it and please do it at home. You guys will have enough oil of 2 good oils that you can use at home and cook with your parents or yourself. And then we have a defective oil because I wanted you guys to be able to taste the difference of good quality oil with defective oil, what the difference is there, and then a little taste at the end. In your kit, you're gonna have this little booklet. And what I want you to focus on is actually this page the most. So part of food science is sensory science. So there's a lot that goes into just understanding your senses, your body, in tasting and what you pull out of that. On this tasting wheel, you'll see there's the light green area, and those are all what we call positive attributes that you can taste in an oil. Nutty, floral, stone fruit, tropical fruit. Those are all things that in an oil, in a good oil, you can actually pick out those flavor notes just like you might in other foods. So it's learning and teaching yourself how to pull those out. So sensory science is actually a division of food science specifically if you want to hone in on that, because there is a lot that goes into it as psychology. Your brain inherently is in tune to not remember words, but remember experiences. So when you first start out on this, it'll be really hard. You might not think of apple when you taste something, but you might think of, oh, I remember my grandma making apple pie. When you're tasting apple in an oil, that memory of apple pie from your grandma will come up, not the word apple. So it takes time for you as you're learning to do sensory to correlate those memories to the word. Good example I always like to use for myself is there's a varietal called Oscolano. And in it, there's a strong note of tropical fruit. But for me, when I taste tropical fruit, the immediate memory I go back to is as a kid carving pumpkins. It reminds me of the smell of a pumpkin, but I don't think pumpkin. I literally think in my mind is pulling seeds out of a pumpkin. That's what, then I'm like, okay, I know that that's pumpkin to me, but I know that everybody else says that that's actually what tropical fruit tastes like. And so I'm able to be accurate in putting what should be of that oil, because everybody has different experiences relate to those same senses. So that's the aromas, we call them the aromas and flavor of an oil. Then there's actually the taste, and taste, there are 5 tastes that you can have: salt, sour, sweet, bitter, and umami. Those are actually the only things that you can taste with your taste buds. In an oil, we do have bitterness. That's the only taste that you really have in an oil. There's no salt, there's no sour or sweet, but there is bitterness. And you want a pleasant amount of bitterness, not too much, not too little. And so that's the balance of tasting that in a olive oil. And then the next one is a tactile sensation, we call it, is actually the feeling of burning down your throat, which is a good thing. So if there's a little tingle down your throat, that's a good thing. That's the tactile sensation of actually the phenols in the oil that are burning your throat as you're drinking it. And it's a good thing. Why? Because phenols are actually one of the main claims to health attributes of olive oil. Higher phenols is what's called antioxidants, and antioxidants are good for your blood, and what is why people always say olive oil is good in your diet is specifically for those. So the more robust an oil, the actually healthier it is for you. Then with the last oil we'll taste, you'll get an example of negative attributes that you taste. Those would be rancidity, fusty, sediment, winey, musty, are all different words that we use to describe a defective oil. The best recommendation I have on that is take a look at your wheel and experience those at home. Like rancid, for instance, an example is a Band-Aid. So smell a Band-Aid. If you taste that in an oil, that is not a good thing. Crayons or Play-Doh is another example of what rancid could taste like. So when you start experiencing those, then you'll know what it is in an oil. And also nuts. So nuts are very high in oil. So you can actually often get rancidity notes in nuts as well. So it's something you can relate to other foods. Then you'll see notes section. So this is the proper structured way of tasting oil. And we'll go over that is you taste you first smell it. We'll warm it up a little bit. You smell it. Then you put it a little bit in your mouth, and you're going to put your tongue to the top of your teeth and you aerate. And what we're doing there is you're volatilizing the oil in your mouth so that you can get more of that aroma inside your mouth. And it helps accentuate the bitterness so you can really detect what is the bitterness there. Then you're going to swallow, and then the swallowing is where you're going to get the pungency. And so that's the process that we go in tasting. And then throughout all that, we like to look at how balanced is it? Is that fruitiness, bitterness, and pungency we got very equal or disproportionate? Is the bitterness too overpowering? Then that's where you might say that it's an unbalanced oil. And then you also look for complexity. Are there a lot of things? Are you able to say it's so green apple and green banana and buttery, or is it just kind of buttery and not a lot there? So that goes into complexity, like how diverse and complex is that oil? And then kind of the sensory characteristics. What characteristics do you taste? Different characteristics are associated with different colors of the olive. So there's what we call ripe fruit characteristics and green fruit characteristics. If you get a lot of butter or ripe banana or straw or hay, that's a ripe fruit characteristic. That means that the olive is more purple when it was harvested. If you get more green at grass, green apple, green banana, those are all green characteristics, which means the fruit was very green when it was harvested. So it helps you kind of gauge what the actual fruit was when it was harvested. So we'll go through that, and you guys have 2 oils and you have 2 tasting cups. Take your jelly bean out of one of those cups. We're going to use that at the end, and pour out your mild extra virgin olive oil. And what you're going to do is you have your cup, and you might have 1 lid or 2. If you don't have your lid, cover your cup, and you're going to warm it up. The reason we warm it up is the proper protocols in tasting an oil are to have it around 85 degrees. The reason for that is temperature has a huge effect in how you taste things. So you think about it, if you have soup and it's kind of cold, it might taste a little bland, you don't get a lot of the flavor, and you warm it up and you have a lot more flavor in that dish that you're getting, because heat creates volatiles, and volatiles are actually what you're tasting. So we want to make sure we do that in the oil, because if we taste it too cold, it might taste mild and it actually isn't. Or you might, and so you could do that. You could try it yourself of warm up the mild, don't warm up the medium, and they'll probably taste almost identical because they're at different temperatures. And then we'll smell it. You get the different aromas. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put it in your mouth. This is hard if it's your first time, but you'll get used to it. And then you aerate it, and then you swallow, and then see what you taste. That oil actually is a mild oil. Some of you guys might feel like it's burning a little bit in the back, but that's considered a mild oil. And that's what we called our, that's actually our California Olive Ranch brand. And it's a mixture of Arbequina that we grow here. And that's what we call kind of our mild to everyday oil that you can use in any cooking. And there really is, once you see in sensory and in cooking, different flavors contribute to different ways of cooking and ways of accentuating what I call as a dish. So mild oil is great on delicate and mild foods. You think about fish, or cooking with baking with brownies or things like that, where you don't want a lot of flavor intrusion. And then you might want a robust one on like a steak or a sauteed vegetables, where you have a lot of that flavor, or in a salad. But they can also be interchangeable. It's really your preference of what tastes good to you. So you can play with what the different things that you want to do with it.
Mary, can I interrupt real quick? Yeah. So those of you that are tasting with us, use the chat and give us a word or two that you think you got with that oil, and tell us if you liked it or not.
Yes. And then normally what we do is, when you're enjoying it and having fun, you can have it with bread, but typically in a tasting, we drink it like this, and then we would cleanse our palate with a green apple, because the green apple crisps your mouth, cleans it out, and doesn't coat it like gluten from bread actually coats your mouth. So the next oil you taste is going to be very mild. So there's a lot of protocols and structure into tasting, because you want to, what you're training yourself and your body to be is actually a tool. And your body is the most sensitive sensory tool that is ever out there. They've always been trying to make instruments to do this, and they just can't. So it's really about training your body to be perfect at tasting these. Very good comments. So definitely I get a lot of what we say is green leaf and the buttery notes, because it is mild, which is typical of Arbequina. So if you have water, it's good to kind of cleanse with some water, and then you'll take the second oil, pour it out, and start warming it up. This is labeled a medium oil, but it might be a little more on the robust side for you guys. It's technically a medium for California. There are more robust oils out there than this. And we'll smell that. Not too much difference in the aroma. And see what you guys think on the difference there. It might take you a while, and then you're going to start coughing, because what I call it is a lingering pungency, or immediately doesn't hit you and then it comes later. Did you guys find that one more robust?
And if you have some fun feedback, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you guys can interact this time.
Yeah. So that variety is called Koroniki. It's a typical varietal that actually originates in Greece, and the Arbequina variety originates out of Spain. Koroniki has perspective, so we talked about phenols being what's that pungency. Korniki has about 400 parts per million phenols, while the Arbequina you tasted is around 150. So that's how you can taste the difference in that, because it's burning your mouth. And it has a very unique, that weird taste on the inside that might make you kind of cringe where you didn't really like it probably, is actually the bitterness. So it's a very bitter oil. And as humans, we're attuned to not like bitterness until you get older and you start drinking more beer and different things that are more bitter. Your taste buds actually start dying over time. So you start liking more salty, more bitter, and more sour foods, because your tongue actually needs more sensation to get the same feeling that you did when you were younger, when your taste buds were all alive. So that oil we describe as more green grass and a lot of green banana. So a lot more green fruit characteristics.
What do you guys think of that one? Which one did you like better?
I like the mild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good example.
I definitely think I prefer mild, because again, when I drank that, and it just felt like I was sitting in a field of lemongrass chowing down.
Yeah. Now what'll be fun is I challenge you guys to, at home, make something with both of these. Maybe do a salad and make a little bit of salad tonight with the mild, and then do the same salad tomorrow with the medium, and see how you can taste the difference. And while maybe by itself you don't like the medium because it is very overpowering, you might actually find that it might be better in the salad because it now gives that flavor, but it's not overpowering because now it's on something else that's muting that bitterness and pungency.
And if you guys do that, send me a picture. Just text me a picture of you with your dish that you chose to use your olive oil with. I'm sure Mary would love if I sent her those pictures.
Definitely. And what we're kind of going over here to help you guys is seeing, this is one facet of food science, is the sensory. There's a huge other piece of food science, which is having to do with chemistry. There's biology, lots of other sciences that go into it. In olive oil, we focus more on chemistry, and there's actually 49 different chemistry parameters that we test to deem if the oil is of quality grade and the proper authenticity, which is making sure olive oil is olive oil. There's a lot of adulteration in our industry of misleading brands out there selling other types of oils as olive oil. So we've built this standard to protect us against that, so that what is actually in that bottle and says it's olive oil is truly olive oil. So what we have actually here is we have a full lab staff that's doing the chemistry on site. We have multiple different parameters we look at to gauge what is the shelf life of the product, is this meeting quality grade, working with the operations team to make sure that the quality is the priority in the end product, because that is ultimately what gives the grade. So there's a lot that has to do with all on the science side of everything, marrying up with the sensory. We'll take your last one that has the label on it, defective. That's a little bit of a dead giveaway. And yes, you do have to try it. Why is because this is your best way to experience what is a not good tasting oil. And it might be in your kitchen, and you can educate your parents that this is not something pleasant. You can taste the difference, that this is not going to have a good flavor to it, and convince them to get rid of this bottle in the future if you see this kind of product in your shelf, and get them to buy a good, better quality oil that is actually going to give you good flavor. So we'll smell this one, and immediately you might get a different unique aroma. Very kind of overpowering. Then you'll put it in your mouth. And it tastes a little greasy. It has a little weird texture on the mouth. And then what's the thing that stands out the most to me is it actually reminds me of crayons. And people always joke, it's not like I've eaten crayons. It's not like you put crayons in your mouth. So we're going to do a little test at the end to show you that it's not your mouth that is telling you that it tastes like crayons. It's actually your nose, but it's very waxy. Doesn't it? You get like that waxy that crayon has. So that's rancid oil. That is not necessarily one of our competitors. It was just bad oil that we've had in the lab that was old. It's about 2-3 years old. So to help give you an example that oil was good when it first started, but over time oil ages. That's why Logan talked about the dark green bottle, the nitrogen, preserving the oil quality as best as possible, and really wanting to consume it within 18 months to 2 years of it being produced, because every oil will age. Just like you think about a green apple. If you have it at your house and you keep it for 4 or 5 weeks, it starts to rot. Any natural food over time is going to rot. And with olive oil, that's what you will get, is that defective oil. So that's the kind of stuff that you want to avoid that's out there on the shelf. Is some people are bottling that, and you can buy it exactly like that taste, which isn't pleasant. There's not much in that cup, but I challenge you to do the same thing with a salad. Of taste that on a salad versus taste one of these other oils on a salad, and you'll see that actually does not give you a pleasant taste and give you that excitement of a good tasting dish, which is why defective oil isn't that great. It also has very low phenols in defective oil, and they have things that go against you in your heart. So there's actually more what they call free radicals in an oil like this. And free radicals are not good for your blood because it actually increases your cholesterol, as well as makes your blood have a challenging time to go through your body. So then it actually can create more heart conditions. When you have a good extra virgin olive oil, it actually, those phenols counteract free radicals that are in your blood that are caused by other things as well, to help reduce that instead. So the last piece to help educate you on that, of really honing in on your senses, you have your jelly bean. So take your jelly bean, plug your nose, and then put it in your mouth. And you're going to chew it for a while and see what you taste. And all you taste is probably sugar, because sugar is a taste. Now unplug your nose. And now what do you taste? Now you actually don't taste anything. You're smelling. Your nose is actually connected to the backside of your mouth. So what you're doing is, we call it, is you're smelling with your retronasal. So you're smelling that jelly bean, whatever flavor it was, with the back of your mouth. And that's how you're able to call out those different attributes. That's how you're able to identify crayon instead of actually having to experience crayon, because you smell crayon with your nose. You're just smelling food with the backside of your nose, doing the same thing. And that again is why we're so honed in as sensory scientists, being so careful with your body when you're tasting. If you're sick, if it's smoky outside, if you have allergies, smoking inhibits that as well. So really, if you want to be good at tasting and verifying that, is really knowing what is going on in your body. If you're sick today, that today is not a good day to taste, because when you're sick and you can't taste anything, you don't eat a lot, it's because your nose is stuffed up. And when you have mucus in your nose, it's covering all those sensors in your nose that is allowing you to get those volatiles. So you're now not able to taste things well. And same thing with allergies, smoke, cigarettes. The cigarettes actually mute your taste buds and make it harder for you to be what we call a super taster. So really focusing on that and making sure that you can actually taste things really helps and allows you to be able to truly taste food for what it is. So I don't know if you have any questions.
It would be fun for all of you that, you know, tonight or today, whatever, to go into your kitchen and pull out your bottle of olive oil and set up a little tasting for your mom and have her decide if what she's using, or your dad or your grandma or whoever, is what is a good standard of good olive oil. Makes me think that, you know, talking about the timeline and how long olive oil sits in your cupboard, also buying the Costco olive oil container might not be the best way, and you know, depending on how much you use at a time. So taking all that into consideration while you're
Definitely.
And this is Logan. One other thing, if you're not salad eaters, Mary didn't mention this because she's a little probably more healthy than I am on food selection. But if you're not a a really good cook or salads aren't your thing, try some vanilla ice cream. This is going to sound totally crazy with one of those olive oils and a little bit of sea salt. I know it sounds completely insane, but give it a shot.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm sure all these kids will immediately go dive into their freezers. Wait a second.
Figured we might have better luck with ice cream.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, and what's important on that too is just remember, so fat and salt are flavor carriers. So those are the two most important if you're cooking and you're trying to be healthy or not, and you want to help make something more flavorful, is adjusting the salt and fat content actually accentuates that. So what I always recommend is try different foods with and without oil, and that's where you'll taste the difference. Like even cheese. In Italy, they actually add drizzled olive oil on cheese, and it's night and day. Makes that cheese so much more powerful. Cheese or chocolates, drizzling olive oil on it and then having it without it, and then also trying out these different oils. You'll actually find that some of the oils taste really good with it, some of them don't, and then that's how you're able to find how to pair the right type of oil with what you do. And so you can always play with that fat content to help make that dish have more of a pop and flavor.
Well, I think in April, we are being hosted by Anderson and Sons Shelling. So we're going to be doing walnuts and some tree nuts, which is going to be great. So I think in that kit, I'm going to have stuff to make some salad dressing. We'll get some more olive oil and do some salad dressing for that. I think that would be a really fun one.
Definitely.
Does anyone have any questions for Mary? Okay, well, thank you so much, Mary. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch base on some of the other positions that the company has that we hire for. Just, accounting, there's, accounts payable, accounts receivable, cash management, collecting money from customers, paying bills, those are very important things. Finance, figuring out what to price our bottles, what to, to know the true cost of what it takes to operate. There's IT, getting, people set up at home to work, emails, if PG&E goes out, which has happened at the facility, having them available to help. There's also HR, which is the department I'm in. So payroll, benefits, safety and compliance. The question came up, is it safe? Well, you have someone that's kind of managing and keeping us compliant, especially with COVID going on. My boss mainly, and the safety manager has, needed to make sure that it's the facility, because, some of us at production, they can't work from home. They have to be on site. So it's our responsibility to make sure they're working safely and in a safe environment. Customer service, you have employee complaints, and then you have, customer complaints and customer kudos, shipments, and then you have marketing and sales. The video that you saw, that was created by a marketing department. Our labels, what those look like, who we decide to work with, and also, sales, we have a lot of salespeople around the country meeting with customers. If we have a new product, everyone works together, to put this product out. So it's just so important that you have the right people in the right positions, and you're trying to be efficient and effective. So again, a lot goes into ag, producing a product. It's not just, picking a fruit or anything like that. So.
And Selena, can you most of these positions, do they require college degrees? Is there some that just require a certificate? Are there some that, so if there's some of these students who, you know, might not be college bound, college isn't necessarily for everybody. Does California Olive Ranch offer some ground level positions that, you know, for those that are just looking for a job when they get out of school?
Yeah, definitely. There's an internship program, you know, that's utilized. I can't, I'll let Mary and Logan speak for their positions, but a lot of times it's experience, you know. I highly recommend if you have an opportunity to learn, you know, if you're working and you learn it and you have opportunity to learn something else. That's kind of how I learned, you know, I got into HR, you know, it's just, there's a role that needs to be filled in a job, and you kind of take it on, you learn. And so sometimes, you know, and actually looking at the hiring process, we've hired people with degrees that have nothing to do with what we're doing. So it's more about experience and your willingness to learn and your work ethic, I think. Not all, because I know that like, you know, engineering is probably what like Mary does, but I'll let them speak to more of those positions.
Yeah, so I know in my department, as an example, so I had a team of 14, and under my belt is the lab team. So we do all the testing, we have sensory, we have quality control and quality assurance, and we have R&D, so research. And it's a mixed bag. It does depend. So there are certain more highly technical positions that, yes, you do need a degree. So we have people on the chemistry side, you kind of need a degree in that. But like Selena said, there is a lot to go with. So we just hired a product development manager because we're expanding into a lot more products. And he doesn't have a degree, but he has a vast amount of experience in product development and cooking. And so there's always something to be said, and depending on what your role is. And in quality control, we actually have 2 people who help manage our food safety requirements who have degrees in agriculture. It has nothing to do with food, but they have more experience actually in working in companies in that role that made them a better fit than somebody just with a degree. So it's very diverse of, you know, depending on what you want to be and do. If you want to be in more of a technical role, engineering or specific details, then probably yes, you will need a degree, but not everything needs a degree.
Yeah, I would second that. I do think the operations side probably lends itself more. You know, Lizandra Magani, who's my counterpart and Mary's counterpart in farming. I would say in most of the ag companies that I'm familiar with, you know, there isn't a degree to become a machine operator to run a bottling line. There's supporting degrees of manufacturing, engineering, things like that. But I would definitely say on the operation side, you know, we've got equipment operators, our tank farm guys, the millers even. You know, I joke about it, but it's not like you can go out and post a job for an olive oil miller and 100 people apply. A lot of that stuff is learned as you go. When I started with the company, like I said, I had a degree in marketing, no real world experience. I had never even seen a bottling line. I think that, you know, between the farm and operations, you're probably going to have more of the positions that are going to be trade based, which is just it's a different skill set. Our operations maintenance guys do everything from, you know, welding. We've built a lot of this stuff in house. So, you know, there's sanitary welding, non-sanitary welding, there's machining, there's just general plant maintenance, you know, forklift operator positions. So there's a variety in operations. On the farm side, you've got tractor operators, irrigation control specialists. You've got a variety of things over there, as well as maintenance. So I think, you know, it's got a good mix. But in ops, we also have people that have project management experience, engineering experience. Our controls engineer, for example, you know, his background was reliability maintenance on a nuclear submarine in the Navy. So I think Mary kind of mentioned it. I think the best advice is if you're not into the college thing, but you're eager to learn, you are find something that you like to do. But the best advice I can give people is learn how to solve problems. Because if you have the drive to show up to work every day, always be eager to learn and work your butt off, and you enjoy solving problems, I would say that the sky is, ultimately the limit. Our director of farming does not have a college degree. Grew up in Corning, great success story, but it came from, he entered the company at a ground level, working in the field, and now he manages, probably
2,000
3,500,
acres. Yeah.
3,500 acres worth of production. And he started as an operator. I started as an intern. So I would just say, keep your nose to the ground, just keep working, and you'll figure out what you enjoy.
That's all great advice. Thank you to all of you for being here and showing the students what you guys have to offer. If any of you students that are watching are any of this kind of perks your interest, let me know. I'm sure Logan, I know COVID is kind of giving a little bit of issues, but as we hopefully move past that sooner than later, if you guys are looking for job shadows or something, or just looking to see what they have and learn more about their internship program, I'm sure between Mary and Selena and Logan, we can definitely get you guys connected. So again, thank you for your time, California Olive Ranch. We really appreciate it. This has been a wonderful, I think the students really got a great overview. I know it's not the same as being there, but hopefully next year we'll be back in person, and we can be back there and actually be part of the hustle and bustle. So
awesome.
Anyway, anybody else have any last minute? Perfect. All right. Well, again, thank you for your time and for everything, and we'll be seeing you guys again soon.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Bye.